Egypt and Angola sign new cooperation deals, discuss trade and African peace efforts. U.S. ambassador highlights growing economic ties with Egypt and investment in port sector. Egypt joins BRICS space talks in Brazil to boost cooperation on sustainable development. Egypt and Angola have signed multiple agreements to deepen cooperation in infrastructure, housing, and information technology as part of efforts to strengthen economic and political ties between the two nations. The deals were signed during the official visit of Angolan President Lourenço to Cairo, where he met with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Talks between the two leaders also focused on expanding trade and investment, as well as supporting African Union goals under Lourenço's current chairmanship. President al-Sisi expressed Egypt's full support for Angola's development plans, pledging cooperation in areas such as renewable energy, defense, capacity building, and anti-corruption efforts. Discussions also covered key regional issues, including peace efforts in Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Libido Corridor project, and AU institutional reforms. Both leaders stressed the importance of closer coordination on continental priorities and agreed to push for stronger African representation on global platforms. Egypt and Angola have issued a joint statement following Angolan President João Lourenço's three-day visit to Cairo, highlighting deep historical ties and a shared commitment to strengthening strategic cooperation. President al-Sisi and President Lourenço agreed to boost economic, trade, and investment collaboration, support African Union goals, and coordinate on key regional issues, including Sudan, Somalia, and the DRC. They stressed the importance of African-led solutions, fair water sharing, and reforming global institutions for better representation of developing nations. Both leaders voiced concern over the crisis in Gaza, backed ceasefire efforts, and praised Egypt's mediation role. They also pledged mutual support for international nominations and upcoming African Union events hosted by both countries. Meanwhile, U.S. Ambassador to Egypt, Hero Mustafa Garg, has reaffirmed the strong economic partnership between the United States and Egypt during a virtual briefing with American companies, highlighting growing opportunities in Egypt's ports and logistics sector. Joined by Egypt's Deputy Prime Minister, Kamel al-Wazir, and Minister of Investment, Hassan al-Khatib, the ambassador emphasized the importance of bilateral cooperation in driving shared prosperity. The officials showcased Egypt's strategic role as a regional logistics hub and outlined government efforts to attract foreign investment and modernize infrastructure. As President Donald Trump marks his first 100 days back in office, a defining feature of his second term has emerged: a deepening alliance with Egypt. At the heart of his evolving partnership is President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, whose influence has positioned Egypt as an indispensable force in regional diplomacy. From defense cooperation to high-stakes mediation, the bond between Washington and Cairo is not just strategic, it's also personal, built on mutual respect and a shared vision for stability in the region.
As President Donald Trump marks his 100th day back in office, one of the most notable aspects of his second term has been the deepening of U.S.-Egypt relations. with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi playing a central role in strengthening this strategic partnership. The bond between the two leaders, which began during Trump's first term, has only grown stronger. President el-Sisi's leadership has been instrumental in shaping Egypt's role as a key regional player, especially in the Middle East's complex political landscape. Trump has repeatedly expressed admiration for President el-Sisi, describing him as a strong leader and a tough man, with whom he shares a mutual understanding and respect. Under President el-Sisi's guidance, Egypt has become an indispensable ally in the fight for regional stability. Egypt's efforts in mediating peace between Israel and Hamas have been widely acknowledged, cementing its role as a critical partner in diplomatic initiatives. In addition, Egypt's strategic involvement in tackling challenges has been a testament to its growing influence in both African and Middle Eastern affairs. Through their collaboration, both nations have seen increased trade, particularly in defense, and strengthened military cooperation. El-Sisi government has fostered an environment where both countries can pursue shared goals, from bolstering security in the region to promoting stability and peace. Trump's second term continues to see Egypt as a key ally, with both leaders emphasizing the importance of continuing their close cooperation. President el-Sisi diplomatic acumen and steadfast leadership have reinforced Egypt's position as a leading force in the Middle East, and under his leadership, U.S.-Egypt ties are poised to reach new heights. As President Trump moves forward, Egypt remains a cornerstone of his foreign policy, with both nations working hand in hand to address regional challenges and promote peace, security, and prosperity across the globe.
Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli has witnessed the signing of a strategic partnership agreement between Egypt's Gypto Pharma and U.S.-based Dawa Pharmaceuticals to enhance pharmaceutical manufacturing in Egypt and pursue U.S. FDA accreditation. The agreement aims to boost Egypt's role as a regional hub for medicine production, expand export opportunities, particularly to the U.S., and attract advanced American technology and expertise. Madbouli emphasized the importance of the deal in supporting Egypt's localization of vital industries and strengthening economic ties with the U.S., while U.S. Ambassador Haro Mustafa Garg praised the partnership as a milestone for bilateral trade and investment. The agreement supports Egypt's Vision 2030, aligns with President Sisi's push for industrial growth, and is part of broader efforts to expand local drug production and exports across Africa and the Middle East. Egyptian Health Minister Khaled Abdel Ghaffar has met with World Health Organization WHO delegation to discuss Egypt's involvement in the Global Initiative for Childhood Cancer, GICC. The talks highlighted Egypt's commitment to joining the initiative and enhancing healthcare standards launched in 2018 with St. Jude's Hospital. GICC aims to provide cutting-edge treatment for pediatric cancer patients. Abdel Ghaffar noted that a national committee was formed in February 2024 to evaluate current pediatric oncology services. The WHO representative, Dr. Nima Bid, commended Egypt's public health achievements, including the elimination of hepatitis C and its progress towards sustainable health development goals. And for further analysis, we're joined from Cairo by Al Ahram Weekly Managing Editor Khalid Dawood. Welcome to Qnews, Mr. Dawood. And let's start by asking you, how has President Sisi's leadership style influenced the dynamics between Cairo and Washington during Trump's second term?
Well, thanks for having me. Probably the first point to note is that there was a good relationship between President Sisi and President Trump during President Trump's first term in office between 2017 and 2021. During that period, there was like a process of building confidence between the two leaders, and I think that relationship resulted in coordinated positions on many issues, including those related directly to Egypt's interests, such as negotiating or trying to negotiate a deal between Egypt and Ethiopia on the Renaissance Dam that the Ethiopians have been building regardless of Egyptian reservations, and many other issues. So they managed to maintain a close relationship. We've heard words of praise from President Trump to President Sisi during his first term, and that relationship probably continued as soon as Trump went back to the White House and started his second term in office. And today we are marking 100 days since he took office, and probably there's a need for further coordination between Egypt and the United States, particularly in relation to the extremely volatile situation in Gaza. As you know, Egypt, Qatar, and the United States
to what
have been the
extent
key
has
mediators.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So, to what extent has the United States Egypt strategic partnership evolved beyond military cooperation into economic or diplomatic realms?
Well, there are many aspects of cooperation between Egypt and the United States, whether economic or military. I mean, again, since the signing of the 1979 Camp David agreement between Egypt and Israel, relations have been growing between Egypt and the United States. The United States provides $1.3 billion in military assistance to Egypt each year, and the two coordinate their positions together on extremely important issues, topped with the Middle East peace process, as well, of course, as combating terrorism. And we've seen the two countries, especially if you speak about the military aspect, they conduct joint military exercises together over the past decades, getting the Egyptians and the Americans to know their military techniques in a better way, and for the Americans also to get training in a soil that they might need in any future military operations. So, I mean, again, that's one important aspect, but also after many years of strong relationships between Egypt and the United States, there has been a sort of an agreement to reduce the economic aid that the United States has been providing to Egypt, and to replace that with direct investments that would benefit the Egyptian economy, create jobs, and allow Egypt to develop economically without necessarily receiving outside foreign assistance. So these are aspects that are going to continue. And I guess that despite Egypt's reservations on some positions that the new Trump administration has proposed in relation to deporting the people living in Gaza, the continuing dialogue between the two sides is likely to be fruitful as more and more countries recognize the Egyptian plan, backed by the Arab countries and the Europeans, to reconstruct Gaza without any need to resort to force the Palestinians to leave their homeland.
Okay, so what are the broader implications of Egypt's growing role as a regional mediator, particularly in the context of U.S. foreign policy?
There are so many topics that the two countries need to work together. I mean, considering, unfortunately, that all of Egypt's neighbors nearly are going through very difficult times or civil wars, whether you're going to talk about Libya. I mean, Egypt and the United States have a very important role to play in trying to bring the Libyan factions together and to unite the government there and restore the territorial integrity of Libya itself, and make sure that Libya has good relations with all its neighbors and not tilting towards one party or the other. And at the same time, of course, we are coordinating closely as well on Sudan, where there is this very sad ongoing war among the Sudanese army factions, whether the main army, the official main army led by Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the leader of the militia of the Rapid Forces, Dagalo, Mohammed Dagalo. I mean, again, Egypt and the United States are very much in coordinating effort in order to convince the parties in Sudan to come to the negotiating table and to work for the benefit of the Sudanese people. So we also have to work on that. And of course, the very close coordination on the Middle East peace process issues in relation to the future of Gaza. And Egypt has been trying very hard to convince the American administration that what's needed in Gaza is not just to stop the war, but to start a political process, a process that would lead to the creation of an independent Palestinian state as a permanent solution.
Yes, well, from Cairo, that was Al Ahram Weekly Managing Editor, Mr. Khalid Dawood. Thank you so much for joining us here on Qnews. Moving on, the CEO of the Egyptian Space Agency, Sherif Sidqi, took part in a BRICS Space Agencies meeting in Brazil, focused on enhancing cooperation and supporting sustainable development through space technology, held under Brazil's 2025 BRICS presidency. The gathering discussed building a satellite constellation aligned with the goals of the upcoming UN Climate Change Conference COP30 in November. Delegates also explored ways to bridge technological gaps and advance human resource development in the space sector. The event included bilateral meetings and a visit to Brazil's Space Operations Center, reaffirming BRICS' commitment to joint space initiatives. Egypt, which joined BRICS in January 2024, participated alongside other new and founding members. And that brings us to the end of our news bulletin, and here's what we have been covering. Egypt and Angola signed new cooperation deals, discuss trade and African peace efforts. U.S. ambassador highlights growing economic ties with Egypt and investment in ports sector. Egypt joins BRICS space talks in Brazil to boost cooperation on sustainable development. And that's all for now. Remember to stay updated by following Qnews for the latest developments. I'm Hala Al-Hamalawi. Thank you so much for watching.